let me send the bat signal. And I'll check it here in a few minutes. All right, looks like we're ready to go.
Todd and Rob in the afternoon.
Hey, afternoon delight.
With Todd and Rob. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and we're back from Podfest, back live in each respective studios. Rob, welcome back to the New Media Show.
Yeah, it's great to get back home again, but it was also exciting to be down at Podfest again and being with a bunch of independent podcasters and the whole community around what Chris Kremitzos has built down there. I think Podfest is on its way back, from the pandemic, which I think is terrific news for the industry.
Yeah, it is. And I got you a little scratchy. You arrived seconds before we went live, so we didn't get to test. It might be on my end. So if anyone that's listening, let us know if Rob sounds scratchy. I hope not. Hope it's just one of my cables, but I might go move a pot here in a minute just to make sure. Haven't used the studio in 2 weeks, so of course, things are going to be weird. But here we are. We're the show was, I just went down there, to speak and hang out, and it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I liked what they did. So
yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah, why don't you I'm going to go swipe the pots. Why don't you give a little rendition of what Podfest was all about?
Yeah, I can do that. And when you get back, I want to talk about an email that we got from a listener that had some ideas for us. But yeah, Podfest had about, I don't know, I'm guessing between 14 and 1,500 people, I think, that attended the conference, and it had a good exhibition area. There was a good blend of I would say probably half of the folks that were there are either new to podcasting or were just looking to start a show. And then the other half are existing podcasters, ones that typically are doing some level of downloads. It spans the whole spectrum. So we had Rob Sesternino on the panel down there, and actually I'm in the middle right now, Todd, and that may have something to do with this. I just finished up uploading the video from my camcorder.
Oh, I don't think it was that. I think it was just something on this end. Every once in a while, that channel gets a little scratchy.
Well,
so
and I'm sure that the bandwidth coming out of there wasn't the best either. So,
you sound good. The scratch was on my end.
As far as my scratch right now.
Yeah. But
I was talking about the video from Podfest. I know.
Oh, yeah.
We were trying to upload to the download feed for this podcast, and I guess you didn't like the video that came out of StreamYard. So
it was pretty, I guess for a better word, pretty cloudy, because it was
it was kind of fuzzy.
Yeah, and it's because we were pushing via MiFi, so it wasn't the best. But hey, I just confirmed this is good news. This is the first true test. We are live and lit on purely the new version of PowerPress. It sent the bat signal out and did it well.
Oh, good.
So I do want to give a second and give a shout out to Andy Lehman. For many, many months, we have been running on this show, on my site, a whole bunch of other podcasters that use PowerPress have been using his namespace plugin. And we basically were going to have Andy do some code submission to us, but it just turned out because it was so complicated in the Value for Value and doing the lit stuff in PowerPress that we opted to do it in-house. But Andy, had for months, we ran on his namespace plugin, and I do want to thank Andy for that work and essentially having us be able to do what we're doing here with Podcasting 2.0 for literally months until we got our act together and got the plugin updated. So, a big shout out to him and the work that he did. And So I guess, Andy, the challenge is now we're we're going to put a new list together of stuff we're going to do for round 2. And maybe you can go out there and really stretch and see, help us make some of those decisions. But I know it's not completely related to what's going on in the show, but I just definitely wanted to thank Andy for his code contribution well, not necessarily his code contribution because we did our own code, but him running the add-on plugin that was adjunct. Oh, there we go. Adjunct to PowerPress. So, but anyway, there is a 77,777 donation, lit baby from Adam Curry. So thank you, Adam. And I found a trick out, Rob.
You did?
Yes, I did. And the guys from Fountain hinted at it. They said, if you do a 1% split to Fountain or to your account on Fountain, you will actually show up in their leaderboards over there when someone donates. So I did a 1% split to myself back to my personal node, not my Albi node. So now I got Helipad running again. So I can see stuff come in on Helipad. So yes, baby. I don't know how all this stuff works. I really don't care how it works. It just does. And yeah, I'm pretty jazzed.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm pretty jazzed. Now, what we need to do is somehow arm wrestle Podbean into implementing some of this stuff on Podbean.
Yeah.
And I don't give much hope out for another company he used to work for. I'm not sure that they're going to do anything, but we'll see.
Well, they did put I guess their lead program manager on the group. So I guess John, who was on there, but I don't know if there's been any contribution.
He's in the PSP group that we're forming, but he's not in the Mastodon. He's not in Podcast Index.social. He's not hanging over there and participating.
Yeah, not yet engaging.
Because that audience, John Spurlock, Adam, Dave Jones, Andy Lehman, I can just go through and name these whole bunch of people that were invaluable in giving us feedback and telling us what we were doing wrong and looking at things. And so this, even though my Blueberry team did the code work, that team over there of all these enthusiasts were, we got to give credit where credit's due if we're getting me motivated. Number 2, because I was like, did the ping come through? And, I think John finally got sick of me asking. He said, hey, by the way, there's a tool that you, and it's like, it's like something that no user should ever see.
Right.
And so I was able to test today to make sure that our, things were coming through the correct way. And there's one small change I may have the team make in PowerPress yet, but other than that, I'm a happy dude. And and to be honest with you, we talked to the Pro Track. I got to get in and talk to the Pro Track at Podcast. There's another one. Yeah.
Wow. It's popping.
Rob sounds a bit echoing. Ducks, triple twos, quad twos, 4 ducks in a row. The P.S. I will send you an email about my address for the stickers. Yes, I'm late for both Adam and Martin. But here's the thing. When I went in to talk to first of all, let me back up. The morning of Friday morning, I was able to get about 10 minutes to address during a keynote section where they had like 5 of us pop come through. To talk about value for value. And I basically had 22 slides in literally 10 minutes that I had to bust through to make people understand what this is all about. And I said of about the 5, probably was 400 to 500 were in the room. I said, how many hold up your hands that know about Podcasting 2.0? and five raised their hands. So I said,
Five out of how many people in the room?
like 4 to 500.
Oh, wow.
So, so now I fully focused that this year will be, I picked my mission this year. My mission this year is because every year I pick a topic if I'm going to speak someplace. So this year it's going to be 100% anywhere I go that I'm allowed to speak, and given the opportunity to, I'm going to be talking about podcasting 2.0, the value and being able, why we should be doing this and the benefit. Because what I tried to talk to the podcasters about was not the geek, not the nerd, the value, the what we are, what this brings. See, just right here is two examples in a row. Adam and Martin both hit the show and sent a donation, sent a comment. You don't get that. Obviously, we're live, but those types of comments can come in when someone listens to a show on one of the new podcasting apps, newpodcastingapps.com, when they're listening on demand. So, the main thing so we did this presentation in the morning. It went over well. What can you say in 10 minutes, right? You have to talk quickly.
Yeah.
And then I got a full 45 minutes in with the advanced podcasting track, where there was about 50 in there. And I had them raise their hand again. How many of you, and same 5 people that had been in the keynote had heard about it. Matter of fact, there was a couple of folks in there that were early proponents that basically have been on the bandwagon long before I've been. So I went through basically 10 or so of these features. And what was interesting, one gal asked me, she said, do podcast hosts have to implement this? And I said, yeah, you have to. Well, no, she had basically, I misinterpreted what she had asked me. And essentially what she was asking was, she was building a podcast hosting platform herself. And I'm like, why would anyone today build a new podcast hosting platform? I don't understand. There's 25 of them available. Why go out and build something new? But, that's what they're doing. And I said, yes, you have to go. And I talked about the GitHub, and basically told them where you could go find information and all of this. So maybe whatever this platform that she's building, and I think she's building a platform for underrepresented voices, those types of that community. Yeah. So I encourage, good luck with that, putting a package together. And I said, yep, you're going to need a coder to do some of this. But anyway, the conversation was good with that audience. I want to thank Chris for at least giving me, 2 opportunities to kind of talk about this in front of podcasters. And I basically told the content creators, I said, listen, if your host is not doing any of this and you see value,
right,
you need to go over to your hosting provider and said, and I was kind of frank, I said, you need to ask them, why are you not participating? Why are you not involved? So
yeah, I think that would help.
Yeah.
I think push this forward as if contributions from the community came in asking for this. And I certainly hear it from certain sectors of the community. But I wouldn't say it's flooding in, but I would say that the activity that we're seeing, and the example of this show is a terrific example of the potential of this, that it could transform, what podcasting is, to that relationship between the listening apps, the listeners, and the podcaster. There's no question. Another row of ducks. It was fun to watch your live streaming session from PodFest. The value for podcasters, listeners, guests, and others involved in your podcast. Great week, Todd, Rob, all the best. Again, Martin. So again, thank Martin for that boost. So, but I think, and again, I told the podcasters, I said, listen, this doesn't end with you asking for your podcast host to implement these features. Number 2 is now you need to educate your listeners. And by educating your listeners, then they will start asking the podcast apps, where are these features? Mm-hmm. And Podcast Addict just implemented Lit. So we're lit. For those of you using Podcast Addict, we're lit on Podcast Addict right now. So if you're a Podcast Addict user, need to start paying attention to what's going on in Podcast Addict, because Podcast Addict, Fountain, actually Fountain is not lit yet, Podverse, I'd have to go to the list, but you can see all the apps that are doing, and matter of fact, Fountain, come on, let's get lit in there.
go over to newpodcastapps.com and you can actually look through the list and see who has implemented what. So anyway, again, I'm excited if you can't tell, but I think going back to the Podfest conversation, about 50-50, 50% podcasters, 50% tire kickers, I guess, or people that are thinking about it.
New podcasters, right? I agree with you. That's what I said earlier when you were gone was about, I'd say about half the people there are either new or looking to start a show. I don't know how many.
Yep.
I mean, that almost never happens at Podcast Movement.
And Chris, by the way, Chris,
right?
Brilliant move. This is what all podcast conferences need to do. You had exhibitors on one side, you had your keynote area on the other. There was great traffic for all the exhibitors. We chose not to exhibit because we got no traffic the year before. Right. If you do that again, I will come back because there was huge traffic. They had a reception in the exhibitor area. So all the exhibitors, at least appeared to me, got a significant amount of traffic. How was traffic at the Podbean booth?
It was, I mean, I thought it was good too. I think having sessions, I mean, that's exactly where we did the new media show.
Right.
Right in the middle of the exhibition.
Yeah, right in the area.
Right when the doors opened.
When the noise went to decibel
exactly.
800.
It was the busiest time of the exhibition was when we were there.
Yeah.
Trying to do our show live. So as you'll probably notice from the video, and actually I just finished uploading the high quality video that we can post to the video podcast feed to Todd. It just finished before the show. And I think the video turned out terrific. It's really sharp, and the audio seems to be okay. It's not like we're on SM7Bs or something.
Right.
But it's certainly good enough to understand, and the background noise wasn't too bad. I thought it was terrific. I thought it was it was really podcast movement, really of old before the pandemic.
Yeah,
is what it felt like again. I still think that we need to get more people aware of that conference. And I know Chris Kremitzos, the organizer, wants to do little mini podfests all around the country. I think he's
and maybe even
25
global
cities or something.
Yeah,
right.
maybe even global.
Yeah, even take the event to Asia or some other spot around the world to try and tap into that market, because podcasting is becoming more and more increasingly a global medium.
Yeah.
It always has been, but I think that just the energy of podcasting outside of the United States is just on fast track. And it's really exciting. So
again, a great event. Venue, of course, was beautiful. You could get food, didn't starve.
Well, there was lots of
room service,
free buffets.
Well, I did not get access to the free buffets. You did.
Not.
No, I did not pay the extra for the buffets, but none of them were free. I didn't. I think
being a sponsor.
You got access to them.
Yeah.
But no, and if I'd really thought about it, I should have bought the lunch and learn package. But I wasn't there Saturday. Saturday I went to see my daughter. But how was Saturday's traffic? Was it good?
You talking about Sunday?
No, Saturday.
Saturday. Oh, that's right. Because you
I left Saturday morning.
Right,
yeah.
Right. It was a little slow, but that's to be expected on that. More of a last day. And
then Sunday was the closing thing. How was that?
There was probably, it had the whole gratitude session in the morning. It started at like 9 and went to like 11:30, and then after the gratitude session was another huge breakfast brunch buffet that Chris put on, which was I barely had to buy any food there when I was there because there's just so much.
Well, here's what happened. I think Chris had a much bigger food and beverage commitment. I think he had to have so much food and beverage this time around.
Yeah. I think the big reason for that is that particular hotel didn't have a lot of restaurants in it. So
I never had a problem getting food there, though.
No, that's true. So they had two venues that you could get food at, but they just didn't have a very extensive menu. And then one was a regular restaurant, but it just didn't have the scope. I know I went to a couple dinners the first couple of days, and and had to go like 15 minutes away
Right.
to actually
They
get
did
to
have-
a few restaurants. But
They did have room service. That's the first hotel I've been
Oh,
in
they
that I
did?
got not room service, but house cleaning every day.
oh yeah,
Every place I've been going to is no house cleaning. We'll give you fresh towels and stuff like every third day or something. So
yeah. They also asked me that question too. I said, "Do you want room service?" So now it's almost like the hotel like asks people if they want
Right.
to have room service.
Right.
Um,
if I'm
so-
paying the type of money we were paying there, I want my room cleaned every day.
right.
And I'll leave the maid $5 and each day, and
Yeah, like we talked about it, it certainly wasn't an inexpensive restaurant.
No.
Place to stay.
no,
it
not
was
at all.
Kind of, it was $200+ a night.
Yeah.
So
But we had a good event with our live. We believe me, I was panicking at the very last minute because I hadn't used StreamYard for a while, so I was using StreamYard, and what I did was I really was scared to begin with because there was no mixer there. There was just a wireless mic with an input and finally they brought a mixer in, and then they had to add more. They had to bring in 3 more channels, because we didn't want everybody having to pass the mic every 3 minutes. And
they only had it passed with one microphone for 4 people on stage.
right, and then so finally I got in there about 15 minutes before, and I used just a wireless transmitter to go from the mixer headphone out into Rob's camera, and then I picked up the HDMI signal coming back into. Through he had a USB capture for HDMI, and basically we were able to get up on StreamYard. And man, I tell you, I think at one moment I said, "Don't talk to me right now."
Yeah, you did. You were like, I'm trying to figure this out.
Don't
We're
talk
about
to
go
me.
live. Right. Yeah.
I had to kill the broadcast, recreate it, and that's what I get for not using SoundStream for a while. And because they change, if you don't use it, then they make updates, and you're like, "What did they change?"
Yeah. Right.
So we were up and good, and I was like, okay, got the lit signal out, and you're just like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, and certainly the live video that's currently available on Facebook and YouTube has about 7 minutes of kind of
Chop.
preamble, right?
That's right.
And then horrible sound and stuff like that. So on the version of the video that I sent to you, Todd,
I'll replace all those videos.
I've trimmed it. I've trimmed the ends out. So,
okay, well that's good.
So and I added a slide that showed the session and who's in the session.
Well, welcome to my world when it comes to video.
Right. Right. So the video podcast version of it will be the best visual consumption.
All right. So anyway, I'll get that because there's an audio version in the feed right now. So I'll get that updated. And anyway, it's cool. So, one thing I didn't announce, I saw the other day, and I'll be honest with you, the old curmudgeon in me came out. I'm going to be very frank. I saw the Ambies, and they're announced who their nominees were.
Oh, yeah.
Commercial show, and then a whole bunch of Audible shows that are really not podcasts. So I made a comment in the group, in the Slack channel. I said, "Hey, Audible's technically not a podcast. It's it's audio content you can get on Audible." And I'm just being the old curmudgeon, kind of sticking a fork. I know it didn't. People were probably like, "What are you talking about?" Have no idea. But a bunch of Audible shows got nominated. I really wish that they made a lot of the shows look like they were. I'd like to know the breakdown.
Podcasts, right?
I'd like to know the breakdown.
Well, they actually call them podcasts, even though they're behind a paywall.
Right. But if I look through that entire nomination list, I would like to know which ones come from studios and which one are solo podcasters.
Right.
Because there's by such and such. And I don't know if they're a studio, but they put a by name by everyone. And I was like, okay, is this trying to play smoke and mirrors? Because you can see Gimlet, you can see Audible, you can see certain studios, but then other stuff are by a certain name. I'd really like to know what the mix between commercial and indie. And to be honest with you,
Todd, I think it's blurry, actually, is the only real answer to that right now, because what is commercial versus what is indie is a little fuzzy.
Well, I think if you are primarily doing a podcast with one or two people, you are indie.
Yeah,
if you have
probably if it's on Audible and it's behind the paywall, it's fairly safe to say that it's probably a commercially produced.
And if it's a Gimlet, if it's a Wondery, right. if it's those are commercial shows. Right. So I'd like to see what that ratio was. I don't think they'll ever put it out. Maybe someone can go and do the analysis and get the ratio. But I'm just like at $250 to register. And I'm we opened Podcast Awards registration today, and at $50, I guess I'm a deal.
The deal of the century.
So it's no wonder I can't afford to do a live event if I'm charging $50 a registration.
Yeah, I think, Todd, the thing to think about with this topic is that I think that there is a difference in the podcast community, and we've seen like we've said many times on the show, there's a professionalization that's happened in the medium around it. I hate to say, but kind of a completely different segment of the podcasting community. It's really kind of to some degree, kind of a fractured community. So you have, these big, these shows that are produced by larger companies, ones that are considered kind of media companies that are producing these programs. And I think that the ideology of what's happening right now is that the definition of what a podcast is, in their minds, has expanded, right? So it's not 100%, a podcast is off of an RSS feed, though it may be distributed as an RSS feed, but it may also be on YouTube. It may be on a version of it or something like that will be behind a paywall, and there's like windowing of content and all sorts of things that are more traditionally seen in the major media kind of perception are coming into podcasting. And I guess at the end of the day, you've always said that, we don't really care how someone listens.
Yeah.
If it's produced like a podcast, the listener is going to perceive it as a podcast.
Yeah, well, I guess I just keep my old curmudgeon hat on. But
believe me, I get what you're saying.
But if
I've taken that position before with group meetings, and I get people kind of rolling their eyes, going, here's this old school guy that's saying a podcast has to have an RSS feed to be a podcast, and it's a tough conversation.
Here's my concern about the Podcast Academy. Yep. They probably brought in $250,000 in registration fees for that awards. Well,
I'm just to be transparent, I'm the treasurer of the Podcast Academy and the ANBs. So
do they publish what those numbers are publicly?
I don't believe so. I think it's only disclosed to the board.
All right. I'm going to guess.
I just put it.
Okay.
I just got off the board meeting.
Okay.
So yeah, and I presented all the numbers and stuff to the group.
I don't have any inside information. I'm just going to guess. So, but the question really is, what has the Podcast Academy done for podcasters besides his awards? To me, they have the mentorship thing,
and they have some educational programs that they do throughout the year, and they do have as part of the membership, you can log into the website and you can get access to all of the members and be able to directly reach out to them, and they're identified and their contact information is in there. So it is a little bit of a networking opportunity for especially kind of more new people in the industry and also existing people in the industry to connect with others.
Well, I'm just concerned that they have become nothing but an award show to a certain extent.
Well, I think that's what they founded the organization as its primary mission. Right?
Really?
To build, I would say. I mean, I was the founding chairperson of the organization, and I did push for more. over there early on and got basically the board said, no, we don't. What we want to do is focus on this, build the awards into something significant, and who knows what the future looks like. I mean, I think that there's still an opportunity potentially to have that organization do more than it is.
I and 2 or 3 or 4 of my team members write a check every year to be members, and I'm just questioning. So
yeah, I understand the concern, and I do know that there's been quite a bit of inquiries lately about the organization being a little bit too U.S. centric as well.
Oh,
so there's a recognition, and we actually voted on it on the board today to expand our footprint beyond just the U.S. Because I think what we were trying to do is walk before we run to some degree from a budget perspective, organizational development, and then expand it into other areas. And I would love it if the organization, because it is starting to be an organization that could support potentially other missions for the organization to be a part of, right? I think the organization is getting established. The budget is looking pretty solid given the economic conditions, and so I would love it to take more of a leadership role. And I know we've talked about this, and especially in relation to the Podcasting 2.0, initiatives, and
well, we've got our own group that's trying to get off the ground.
But there may be advantages to having these organizations work together closer. So anyway, I mean, I think as we look to the future, I do think that there is a need for more of a technical standards group to be a part of the Podcast Academy. So yeah. And
to be fair, I talked to Rob about a few other things that's been on my mind at Podfest, and we're not going to.
Me, you talk about me? Or
yeah. I talked to both you and the other Rob about some things that I've been thinking about, and we both had a conversation, and we're not ready. Where there's there's nothing being formed. Let's just put it that way. But just a conversation, and I just think that we wanted something for a very, very long time.
Okay. Yeah.
I
think I know what you're talking about here.
We've wanted some sort of organization,
right,
that would do more for content creators.
Yeah,
and I'm at a point. Damn, I don't have the time cycles for it, but I'm just like, who
want to say?
No, we can't. We can't yet. We can't.
Okay. All right.
So I'm just, what do you guys think? Does it even matter? Is it because there's just going to be a bunch of meetings, right? You look at the reason the Podcast 2.0 stuff has been successful. There's no meetings. There's just people putting ideas in. They discussed a little bit during a weekly podcast, and the internal team kind of does a little chit chat. People provide back and forth, and it's ongoing open. There's no meetings. And they've gotten a hell of a lot done in advancing the space.
Though I think the concept of meetings, Todd, may not be applicable to this. I think it's more about evangelizing it.
Yeah.
And having webinars, or having instructional things, or having demos, or having those kind of things might be more beneficial to the podcast community, to help educate the community more about what Podcasting 2.0 was really trying to accomplish and trying to build,
and that group
allegiances there. Right?
That group is, being worked on, and I think we're real close to having the membership stuff locked down. And in fact, I talked to the Buzzsprout guys at Podfest, and we conversated about what that membership document, in which I basically am draft 6 or something like now, what it should be, and if it's ready, and then maybe we need to move with that piece too. So, I think there's just a lot of hunger in the space for ongoing support, ongoing education. And I know Chris and them folks do a great job at Podfest and bringing people in to talk, but people have to travel to that, or they have to buy a virtual ticket, or maybe they go to Podcast Movement and get the same, maybe they get fed there. But I don't know. I just I'd like to have a little more cohesiveness when it comes to
Right.
podcasters and being able to help podcasters advance. So
Yeah, and I've tried to talk to other more existing organizations, other ones
which don't want to do anything.
which have been a little hesitant to take that kind of a position in the space. I mean, it's spanned from really big organizations like the National Association of Broadcasters to Podcast Movement to the Podcast Academy. There really isn't anybody else that I can think of that would have the scale or the reach or the experience to actually take it on, unless we create a new organization.
And there's been 2 or 3 attempts at it that have never gotten off the ground.
Right.
And I often say the detriment of many of these types of organizations is agendas. Everyone comes in, they got an agenda,
Well, it depends on what the agenda is. Like with the podcast community, the agenda is that the primary purpose of the organization was to do X, right?
Right.
Not X and Y. So once X is done, then Y is more possible. But it also depends on the philosophy of the organization and whether there's real alignment. I don't think there's huge alignment with like somebody like the National Association of Broadcasters, because they're broadcasters and we're podcasters. So it's a little bit of a conflict.
And some of the positions some companies have taken on some stuff has made, we have to, I don't know. Maybe I'm just shooting in the wind here, and there is no way that there is ever going to be an actual trade organization that is going to.
Well, Todd, I think there can be. We just need to just start one, just like what happened with the Podcast Academy.
Yeah, I know.
A group of people got together and formed a nonprofit and made it happen. Right? I know it's a big undertaking, but I think there are some elements that can be pulled together here to make it, that didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
A few years back when we were originally talking about this, just bringing the, like I'm thinking of 2 things together right now might be enough to
maybe
kickstart this and get it off the ground.
Potentially.
So timing might be good right now for doing that.
And we're hinting at some stuff, but we can't talk about it yet.
I know. Can we really? I mean, it's
not
right
yet. Just wait. Just wait.
I think probably in a couple of weeks we can share some more details on what we're talking about here to some degree, kind of more in a bundle, right? To say, let's take this and that, put it together, and then form an organization to support that, and then build community around that. It doesn't have to be part of the Podcast Academy. It doesn't have to be part of Podcast Movement. It doesn't have to be part of any other trade or convention organization.
Right.
But maybe it does turn into a convention trade organization. So
Ooh.
I do know of a large party that is interested in starting something new on that front. So
we're talking. We're really like teasing people here. We have to be. It's going to be speculation.
Let's be a little bit transparent here. I think the idea is we don't want to talk about stuff that is still kind of maybe bubbling about what options exist more in real time. I mean, more in current time versus us thinking about these topics more long term. Right.
Martin says again, 1,776 stats. He says, thanks for the email about the podcasting project. Looking forward to hear more about it. Was it a Slack channel? No, it's being, where are we doing PSP? It's over at, and what it is, it's a podcast standards project, or is that what we're calling it? Yeah.
Podcast standards project.
It's podcast standards project, and it's on which platform? I can't remember. We're organizing.
Too.
Yeah. So
the guys from Transistor put it together, I think.
Yeah.
Or is it with another organization now? I thought they maybe moved it.
So there's a website that they're putting up and some other stuff, but we've got logos, we've got membership about that. This is something separate from what Rob and I are talking about. So, TBD on the secret conversation we're having.
So safe to say, there's things that are bubbling right now
Right.
that may coalesce into something that
Potential.
is significant to get started with, not just, kind of like
And
just beginning. Right?
1, 2, 3, 4 sats from Mike Del High from the vet's office. So thanks, Mike, for that.
Right.
So, I guess we get to a point where sometimes it's just we talk too much and then we have to do something. And I think we're fast approaching to the point where the talking is over and we're going to have to do something. And hell be damned. Where no one is going to be ultimately happy with everything. And it says, step 1, use a host that supports 2.0 features. Step 2, tell your listeners to use a modern podcast app from newpodcastapps.com. There is no step 3. That is all.
Well, if you go to newpodcastapp.com, what you'll see there is a list of more than just podcast apps. You'll see platforms that are
Right.
supporting tags, and it'll list what tags.
Let's not call them tags. Let's call them features. 33,003. Okay, 33,366 sats from Adam Curry. He's now officially the big baller for this show. When someone does over 100,000 sats, I should have
you're talking about Mr. Adam Curry?
Yeah, I should have a big baller. He plays that on.
Big baller.
That's what it is. A big baller. He's come in here with over 100,000 sats on this show. So I guess we'll see what happens. But I think the Podcast Standards Project is based, and what it really is a coalition of app developers, podcast hosts, enthusiasts that all are basically kind of organizing. And what the ultimate goal is I think ultimately we will say, as an organization, we will support this X number of features, tags within a certain amount of time, and then advocate publicly for their adoption. And be able to talk as a group, as a coalition, while Dave and Adam and John and all the other folks that are doing cool stuff over at at Podcast Index and with the GitHub and all the other stuff. They're just, at least we can come together as a coalition of companies and groups and say, this is why we want to do what we're doing, is why we want to advance, and this is why you need to get on the bandwagon. And to be kind of honest, kind of pressure companies that are not playing, saying
peer pressure,
saying you're behind on the 8 ball now. Let's go.
Right. Yeah.
So I think overall, some of this is I hate to. I agree with some meetings are a time suck, and I hate meetings just as much as anybody else.
Yeah.
Oh, your coalition sounds like communism. LFG already. 117,711 sat donation. That's a statement. Your coalition sounds like communism.
All right, comrade.
Oh, and really what it is, we're just we're all big fans of Podcasting 2.0. So whether we get anything done or not, I don't know. Probably have lots of meetings and, one press release or something. It's been how many months since Podcast Movement. So, we're still not done with membership requirements. So that tells you how fast it's moving.
Yeah, I know that it's starting to heat up since Podfest ended. I'm starting to hear more discussion about, who's going to Podcast Movement Evolutions, right? And is there any blowback or consequences for what happened?
Well, I'm not speaking at Podcast Movement Evolutions, and
it doesn't appear that we're doing this show there at the
actually, event. I corrected. I was asked to be on a panel.
I know you are on a panel.
I've been asked. I did it because the gal that asked me, I respect her greatly. So
sure.
And we're going to be talking about that ugly topic, programmatic advertising. That is where companies are going to be spending a lot more money on podcasting, according to Omni.
Well, but I also saw in Pod News a a mention that somehow that the marketers may be pulling back from programmatic. I don't know if you saw that in Pod News.
Well,
it was the last
okay.
couple of days that advertisers may be pulling back from programmatic.
I don't see that. I see, and I've said this publicly. We're seeing more spend. We're seeing rising CPMS.
Yeah, right.
They're not pulling back because they're pulling back on host shreds and they're putting their money in programmatic. Is what's happening.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's
was
what's going
happen.
on.
I mean, if you think about the economy going down, the best place you want to put your money is in the lower CPMs, right? So,
and actually, we've seen the
that didn't make any
CPMs going
sense.
up. And there's
because there's more people looking to do campaigns in it, right?
There's a weird thing that happens in programmatic, and I was like a little bit freaked
it's
out.
auction based.
Well, it's also the longer you're in, the more you get paid. It's like you start out this level, then month 2, month 3, month 4, month 5, the CPMs go up, and why isn't it just up to begin with? But I think what it is, I think the computer, because it is a computer, I think they learn about your publishing schedule and everything else, and I don't know. I don't know what all goes into it. It's bizarre, to be frank. And our partner manages all of it. I just look at the report that comes in and go, huh. So, we're writing, we're doing well. We have a lot of podcasters that are getting paid, so we're pretty pleased. But it's still not the CPM levels that I want. We're not at 15.
Yeah, so
No.
The article that I just referenced that was in Pod News about programmatic stuff, I guess it actually says that the research that ACAST did.
Oh, maybe it was ACAST.
Yeah, right. It shows that 2/3 of the advertisers expect to spend more money on podcast advertising this year. So
yeah, they pulled their advertisers to put out a press release to be able to
right. And of course, they're saying
self-serving PR.
That programmatic advertising will triple in its ad spend by 2027. So that's a few years out, though.
Whoever knows? I know. Anyone's making predictions like that.
I know that's a long way in the future. Who knows what?
Do Podcasting 2.0. This show today will earn more money from SAT donations than we would earn if we were. Matter of fact, we're running pre-roll on this show. We will make more money today from getting boost on this show than we will from the ad that will run as a pre-roll on this show. Guaranteed. Right. We might make, let me see here, how much will we make? We might make, if we're lucky on the pre-roll, we might make about $100 on the pre-roll on this show. If we get 100% fill. If we get 80%, it'll be $80 or something like that.
Though I thought that the tech shows were starting to do better on the ad campaign stuff.
Well, it's CPM wise, again, it's 6 and up, and I'm not seeing anything much higher than 12 or 13.
I guess. Is this show considered to be a tech show? I'm not sure
don't
that
know.
it is anymore.
I know. If I see 11 in there,
it's a sociology show.
Yeah, if I see 11 in there, I'm pretty ecstatic. But again, it varies by the minute, hour, time of day, all that stuff. So it runs the gamut. Hey, Joe, thanks for checking in and saying hi. Has your ears been burning? Oh, actually, not Joe. I was thinking of somebody else. Joe Pardo just said hey, and
may as well been Joe.
Yeah, might as well been Joe, but it's not Joe. Sorry about that. We've been talking about Chris.
See the news from my former work colleagues launching their integration with YouTube metrics. Did you see that?
What is that?
Well, it means that YouTube is sending an API back to Libsyn and reporting plays.
The 5 plays they got on a video someone put up there? The 6, the 10,
right.
15.
Right.
No, okay.
I mean, let's be fair about it. I mean, some shows do very well.
Okay, they get 40
on YouTube,
40 or 50.
No, I mean, some. I know a show that does podcasts and YouTube that's getting probably 30,000-40,000.
Okay, Rob,
plays
on
YouTube in addition to their podcast.
That is a 1%er.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's a huge number of shows doing
the majority
that.
People that are pushing their stuff on YouTube are getting 5, 10, 15, 40 views if they're lucky.
That's because
Okay, so
they
this and
don't
they
know what they're
they said
doing
those
with
they said those YouTube plays
YouTube.
were IEB compliant. I want to see that data and how they were able to get that information.
Well, if the data is somehow captured from YouTube and then it's run through the IAB filters at
Okay,
Libsyn,
great.
then it could be.
So they're getting raw
filtered
log
down.
files from YouTube.
But exactly. It's a very good question.
Who-
And they didn't really
All right, YouTube.
clearly explain.
YouTube, why don't whoever did that deal at YouTube, reach out. I'd love to talk to you on
I
how
know all
that
the guys
integration
that
works.
Did this deal, so it's just a matter of finding out from them, and if that deal is available to other platforms too.
Well, but knowing Libsyn, they made some exclusive deal where they get to do it for 6 months before anybody else.
Well, that's
how they
possible,
that's
but
how
that-
they do their thing.
But,
Hey, but I get little,
YouTube also, is a big player too. So
okay. I'm just I chuckle. It's a headline.
I mean, it says IAB compliant data into the AdvertiseCast platform.
Okay.
It says Libsyn has also made improvements to the workflow for publishing
Okay.
podcasts to YouTube too.
Then
So
I
going the other
look
way
I
as
look
well.
forward to IAB recertifying them with this data.
My question for is actually going into YouTube, are the podcasts ad free? Doesn't say that in here.
Yeah. So again, I'm And by the way, Adam, LFG, we did exactly that. Blueberry did exactly that. We LFG'd. I ain't waiting for some coalition.
Yeah. So
I don't know. It's a cute headline.
well, it's the first one in the industry that I've seen that has data
But-
going back.
But
That's
for
IAB
99% of shows, it don't mean nothing.
Yeah, but Todd, the research is showing that the number one place people are finding podcasts is, or the number two place people are finding podcasts is YouTube.
They
right?
may be finding them, but they sure not showing up in plays on the average podcaster. A small percentage of shows are getting YouTube views. 99% of shows that are on YouTube that are podcasts don't get hardly anything. So please, okay. Yep, there's a percentage. Yep, there's the outliers.
No.
There's 100 or 200 shows on YouTube that get great views. What about the other 400,000 active shows? They get nothing. So,
Well, Todd, this is perception versus reality.
okay,
because
I
a lot
talked.
of the shows that are big on YouTube are not podcasts
So-
from the definition that we have.
So we're gonna use-
They don't have.
we're gonna have to have that-
But they
your-
look like a podcast.
We're gonna have that your baby's ugly conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's this expanded perception of what
Perception.
a podcast is. Right. It's the perception of the listener, the consumer side of this. Right. If it looks like a podcast,
If it smells like a duck, walks like a duck, it's a duck.
right, it must be a podcast. But half the time, if they're watching it on YouTube, they don't even go look to see if it has an RSS.
Well,
feed.
one thing is for sure. Libsyn is definitely all in on the perception that
Well-
stuff on YouTube is a podcast. So
Well, more and more,
whatever.
the podcast advertising agencies, the ones that are representing shows, have been for the last 6 months. They've been bundling in YouTube numbers into the pitches to advertisers for host reads. So these platforms, from a listener perspective, have been merged for quite a while. So
Well, for those that are successful, the 1% that is, or 1/10 of 1% that are successful, great.
well, and it may not be meaningful numbers coming out of YouTube, but there's a recognition that audience is audience.
Well-
Whether it comes from a download in Apple Podcasts or a play on YouTube, there's somebody watching and listening to that ad. So
99% of show can add 15 views to their listens.
right.
So I'm sorry.
That's-
I'm sure there's some
that's
people out
possible
there
with some of the
cringing,
shows.
but
Right.
until the Apple Podcast Top 200 have same equivalent, top 200 on YouTube for there's shows on. Forget it. I'm just
Well, Todd, think kind of long term about this. If YouTube keeps pushing in this direction, maybe they eventually add just the audio shows.
Why would who wants to go
create a YouTube podcast area like they did with YouTube Music?
I'm sure they're going to do that. Have you listened to a pod? I don't listen to podcasts on YouTube. I watch YouTube videos on YouTube. I listen to podcasts. In Fountain. I listen to. I don't cross streams. Now I know some people just go to Spotify, which may not be around in another year. They.
Well, I mean,
if they keep losing money the way they're losing money.
To draw even more of a contrast to what you're saying is think about Spotify in the context of YouTube. Spotify decided to drop the brand. I don't know if that's been officially announced, but that's certainly the perception.
Yeah, they announced that they're going to drop Anchor.
They're going to drop the Anchor brand.
They're going to roll it into production tools on Spotify. Good luck with that.
It's going to be called Spotify Creators Studio.
Right.
Just coincidentally, isn't that the same name of YouTube's Creators Studio? Right. So, and supposedly Spotify supports video now, right? So you can upload video directly to YouTube. Don't get me
wrong. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitch. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We don't care where people listen or watch, as long as they listen or watch. But you look at my YouTube numbers. I'm not going to add that to some deck.
Right.
It
depends on it if it's significant or not. If it's
if you're
probably not going to right?
That's right. But it's like, oh my God, I get my YouTube numbers in my podcast stats. Well, great. It's a headline, and okay, it's a talking point. We provide this for you, blah blah blah, and podcasters are going to go, oh, wow, and it's a new shiny little dangling hook. And what does it get them? It doesn't get them audience engagement. It doesn't get them to keep people in a podcasting app listening to their show, using what is forthcoming in cross-app comments, where you can comment with other people on the same app. It drives your audience to another platform. Why would you do that?
Well, that's always been the question.
That can delist you, take you off, shadow ban you, or if the government gets upset, they'll send a message over and have you delisted off these platforms.
Yeah, I just think that YouTube and Spotify are going to be competing with each other.
Oh, great.
I mean, I think
fantastic.
That's what's happened. YouTube is approaching the market from a video first. Spotify is approaching it from an audio first. But they're both on the same.
Spotify
compete with each other.
CEO is going to be lucky if he has a job in 3 months, and they have lost, and they're burning money so badly. The free money's gone. If they go out and try to get some more money to prop things up to pay payroll, they're not going to get it, because companies have to show profitability. Mark my words, Spotify is going to increase the price of their service by 35 to 40% within the next 90 days. They have to, because they're just losing money. How do you run if I lost the type of money that Spotify lost, I'd be on the unemployment line. My company would not exist.
Yeah, but that's
Podcasters need to understand that, and you and I understand this completely. The openness of podcasting is that we are able to be listened to wherever and whenever. Most of the places that you can consume podcasts now, most podcasts are at. But you have a whole segment of shows there on Spotify that only can be listened on Spotify. And guess what? It don't matter. 10,000 sats. Increasing the price won't help from Anonymous. Someone agrees with me.
It's increasingly becoming a game of exclusives is what
good luck.
I'm seeing happen, at least from the big companies' perspective.
Good luck with that.
Right. is it going to overcome the momentum of open and free
Never.
distribution?
Never.
Never. That's the question that we've seen not get traction for a long time.
The exclusives are done because they don't have no more money.
Well, that and you can't grow a big audience going exclusive somewhere. I think we've definitely moved beyond this concept of exclusives as the strategy.
They had 2 deals,
right?
That I don't know how much money they spent. Michelle and Barack Obama, President Obama signed a deal with Spotify.
Didn't they do like 3 episodes or something?
Harry
like
and
that,
Meghan
the deal was killed?
signed a deal. How many? Right. I'm sure there was. I bet you they laughed all the way to the bank. Failure, right. failure. Those shows should have been on the open market. They should have been available open. They probably would have done very, very well. But problem was they were being controlled by and produced by Spotify, which blew it. At least the assumption is. But it just goes to show you that because you are world famous doesn't mean you're going to attract people to listen to your show. You have to be entertaining.
Yeah, there's been plenty of celebrity shows that have completely
failed.
Right.
So
just because you have celebrity doesn't mean you're going to be successful. Not at all.
And, all these articles about podcasting is in a dip. Well, let's, throw out the anchor. Just throw those numbers.
Spotify's throwing out the anchor.
Just throw that trash out. That's the test. Hi, hello, how are you doing? Test 1, 2, 3. The 3 point.
I just wonder, Todd, are we going to see Spotify add a paid tier at some point?
They already have a paid tier.
No, for hosting of a podcast.
If they do, why would anyone? Well, maybe. Good luck with that.
I mean, if they're burning money, they got to start generating revenue somewhere.
Yeah.
And they can still have a free model, but maybe they have a premium tier. That's what I'm saying.
You're not going to like this, Rob. 25,000 sats from Dave Jones. Loving Rob bot voice.
It sounds that bad. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I don't know. I think he's teasing you. But, I'm being a realist in this. I'm trying to be a realist. I'm trying to be an independent podcaster. I want podcasters that are listening to this show to understand headlines are done for agendas, marketing and sales agenda. Why did I announce a Podcasting 2.0 press release? Marketing and sales. Why did I do a press release and blog post with quick links? All about marketing and sales. It's all an agenda to try to get customers. Right? I think you froze. Or are you looking at your phone? Oh, it looked like you just completely froze.
Oh, I did actually look at my phone because I was going to read this email that we got from a listener.
So. Oh, go ahead.
Well, so you got this email.
Oh, I haven't read it. When did it come in?
Looks like it was yesterday.
I am like 1,200 emails behind in my personal inbox. So what was the email?
Well, this particular email was a listener who was listening to the show.
Yeah.
And he's also an audio engineer.
Okay.
So he has some mild thoughts for us on how we can, I guess, improve.
Oh. Doesn't like our audio quality?
Yeah, that's the bottom
for
line.
The live, or if they're produced?
I think he's thinking that for some reason my audio quality, which seems rather timed well for this conversation right now, as I sound like a robot, is, I guess. I mean, I don't hear myself sounding like a robot on my end, so there's something happening between here and there that's causing this to happen.
I think I'm always a little bit louder than you, and no matter what I do, I can never get them matched.
But we've gone through stretches of time when I've been like half your volume, though. So it goes the whole spectrum.
That's
so
true.
But
in production, in the release version, you're not. You're even Steven.
Oh, of course. Right.
Yeah. Adam waves at Dave Jones, 21,112 sats. You guys keep waving back and forth. Keep throwing sats.
So so this fellow that wrote us, his name is James Mountford is his name,
Uh-huh.
and he says it sounds like Rob is being recorded through Zoom.
No.
The audio loss, clarity due to the internet bandwidth restrictions is what he's saying. It says a loss, the full glory of the SM7B cannot be heard. This could be amended if Rob were to record himself locally and the two tracks were sent to an editor like James, I might add, to mix with the video.
James, when the show completes,
It's done.
it's done. And we use Skype, and we use Skype. We've tried
Which
using,
is probably a worse scenario.
and we've
could be.
tried using Zoom before. We've done both Skype and Zoom, and we could use potentially Riverside to do this. But I'm also got to understand, I have a $1,000 amplifier in front of this microphone. I have an audio stack that's old school. I've got a compressor. I have an equalizer. I have a big bottom. So my sound is really, really dynamic because of that audio chain. Right. Rob's going, and you're going through a Rodecaster.
Yeah, I'm going through Rodecaster, but I have very similar software running on mine too, because this Rodecaster has a compressor in it and audio filtering and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Dave says, really great how you guys put a Rob voice on ChatGPT. 10,101 sets. Boy, we're getting you're getting.
This isn't really me, so you're talking to an AI here, Todd.
That's right. Oh, this is entertaining.
Yeah. I'm actually in Hawaii now.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yes, I know. I'm on the beach sipping a Mai Tai. So,
but I found a cool device at Podcast Movement that maybe you need one of, but you wouldn't be able to use the Rodecaster anymore. That would be a challenge. I found a very, very cool device. Matter of fact, I was recording. It's voiceover work, or it can be an interface to. It's not available yet. It's a company called Audio Sigma. It's not retail. I got device number 9.
so you got?
I bought
device?
one. Yeah.
Oh.
So I primarily bought it because I have the Rodecaster here. I primarily bought it for the office so that I could do screen recordings and have good sound. It's got an incredible low end. It's got a low noise floor, and it adjusts by each mic on the looks at the resistance, and it's pretty impressive. It's not like, oh my God, crazy, but it's really, really nice. Matter of fact, connected the guy with Adam, and maybe Adam will get a test unit and he'll tell me how much, if I'm full of crap or not, if it's good or if I think it's good. But voiceover folks were clamoring over this thing. So there'll be some videos up on Facebook and stuff that I've used it on here directly. And I did no processing whatsoever on the audio. I just put them up as is. So
you said you found this at Podfest?
At Podfest, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was quite a few audio vendors there.
Well, this guy was backpacking it. So.
Oh, he was. Oh.
Yeah, and he was.
There was that studio in a box.
Yes.
That you looked at too.
Yeah,
that
that's
was interesting.
Well, once you put headphones on and spoke into a mic in a crowded room, you would have understand why I got kind of excited about it. So.
Oh, this other unit that you're talking about.
Yeah, the unit that I bought. Yeah. Let's see if I can find a picture of it here, because I posted it maybe I posted it on Facebook too. Let me look.
So I heard from the Shure rep booth that there was a new podcasting device coming from Shure.
Oh, well, they had to do something because
sometime in 2023.
Rode's been eating their lunch.
Because I mean, he wouldn't tell me specifically what it was, but he just
he said something's
new
coming.
is coming. Right.
Yeah, let's see if I can find where I posted this. What is going on? God, I hate Facebook. All right.
So James is offering to do the post-production on this show.
Here's the picture of it.
Oh yeah. I think I saw your Facebook post
Yeah.
right on that.
Yeah, that's it. And
So it's got an equalizer built into it.
well, it's
That's
just
what-
got bass and treble, and
Right.
it's not that dynamic, but it
Well, I
it-
mean, that's what a typical mixer has.
to me
right?
it sounded like it had a big bottom in it. And I'm a big fan of the big
Oh.
bottom, Aphex big bottom.
Oh, the bass.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with this, and it's kind of if you look at it, it's definitely steampunk to a certain extent because
Right.
there's
It's got that angles to it and that
and
color.
it
Right.
doesn't have you can see inside with electronics and everything. So, but not inexpensive, $299, but it was enough for me to be impressed enough with it that I said, okay, I'm going to buy one and bring one home. So again, I got Unit 9, and a voiceover person that I know very, very well has a unit as well, one that was early. So he's been put pretty smart tech into this. So, and it does, I've got my SMB7, my other SMB7 plugged into this without a cloud lifter, and it does just fine.
Which
So-
is actually formerly my SM7B. Right.
Right, that's right. Your
Right.
former SMB7, yep, that we did a swap on. What did I send you? An SM something, right?
No, it's that microphone that's up on the shelf behind me up there. It's the MV7.
Oh,
So you-
yep. So we did
So I
a
sent you my
we did a horse trade or something. I can't
right,
remember.
exactly. I
Yep.
sent you my SM7B. I think you got the better end of the deal.
Oh,
but
did I?
I don't. well, but my SM7B is like, I think I bought it in 2009, so it's pretty old.
Yeah,
So
but
just like this one, this one's been around since 2009.
so anyway, we're
So-
talking geeky stuff here. But anyway, that was the I really like this this device, and wish the inventor luck. He's invested his own money in his own design, and I warned him. I said, listen, I said, don't. He's having part of it assembled overseas, but he brings in does the final assembly here in the United States. And I said, if they figure out what other chips you're using on it, you'll see this in Alibaba in 6 months. Someone will be selling some Chinese person will be selling it. So.
Hey Todd, have you heard the latest news on, or the latest goings on with South by Southwest coming up here in March? But I guess there's a podcasting stage at the event this year, and I guess Shure is the stage sponsor, and I guess Sounds Profitable is going to be doing some stuff and on stage, I guess, at that event, and that's usually a huge event. So there appears to be quite a bit of buzz in the industry right now about things that are going on at South by as it relates to podcasting. So I don't know if others have heard the same, but podcasting at South by, I've moderated and put on panels at South by Southwest many years ago, back when I was working for Microsoft, and I did that back in those days. But they've been slowly bubbling up with more and more sessions on the podcasting medium, but it looks like it's kind of growing right now. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. I just saw a John Spurlock put out a top podcast tracking services by new episode share. Podtrack number 1, Chartable number 2, AdWiz number 3, Podcorn number 4, Podsots number 5, and Blueberry number 6. And then a whole bunch of other people below that. So, yes, we do have a redirect over at Blueberry that you can use, but don't have to host with us. So I just saw this up there. And apparently there's something going on with my splits. I got to figure out what's going on there too. So something happened. I must not have something entered correctly. Because I tried to send, for every donation we get to this show, I'm sending Podcast Index a 1% split from this show.
Yeah, I thought it was funny, the quote in Pod News from the Spotify CEO saying, I got carried away about podcasting, I guess.
He got what? Oh, he got carried away?
Yeah, he got carried away with something that he either said or the company did with podcasting.
Well, they spent an incredible amount of money.
Yeah.
They were spending money like a drunk sailor.
Well,
$1 billion.
yeah. Well, it goes back many years. It isn't like just something they just did. But,
Well,
but yeah.
they shot their They bought
Well, those guys had
Wondery.
a
They
very, very shaky entry into the podcast medium, as we both know. I mean, it was painful. Just
well,
put it that
like
way.
I said,
Right.
the clock's ticking on that. So there's- you reap what you what's the word? How do you say that? You sow what you reap.
You reap what you sow.
And here's the funny thing about the Anchor acquisition. We go way back. They were out. They were out of money. Everything I've been told,
right
they
when
had
got acquired by Spotify. They were about to go out of business.
yeah, they had like 2 weeks left of runway. That's all they had left.
At least that's the rumor.
That's
of
the
it.
rumor. That's what we
I
were
don't know
told.
if it was really true, but yeah.
But so you buy something that is just like bleh, it's in the red.
Well, it saved the investors from losing their shorts, and a lot of the other companies that were purchased by Spotify
Well,
at the same time were conveniently with the same VC investors.
right. It was
So
like
you can
investors
kinda-
taking care of investors. It's amazing how that works out. I wish I had some investor friends like that. $117 million for Blueberry sold.
Right. Right. So
Come with that kind of money. I wouldn't stay for 3 years for that kind of an exit.
yeah, so there's still some investment money going into podcasting. I saw that the
not
podcast
much.
production company over in the UK called Novell, which those folks recruited Julie Shapiro from PRX probably like 6 months ago to work for them. So they got like 6.2 million in US dollars in a Series A investment round. So I've talked to those folks before. They're into really high quality production, kind of like a Wondery type of a company.
Well, it's those types of outfits. I would think that is extremely high risk at this point, because
I think they have to be a little more cost conscious on their productions, probably more than they were 6 months ago.
You look at a Podbean, a Blueberry, we're cash positive, and I'm assuming Podbean is, assuming they're cash positive. Libsyn, I don't know about right now, but
I think that there's been a lot of investment there too.
Yeah, so they've got some crazy financials. I'm sure some interest payments are due and some things like that if they did if they didn't buy it all in cash, which I don't think they did. So you gotta make bank, and you gotta have a viable business right now. If you don't have a viable business,
right,
I think you're going to be in trouble. I was looking at a business earlier this week that came to me, and I looked at the demo, walked through the platform, and about 3/4 of it, I already had everything that was on that platform. And so people are looking to make exits, and if they don't make exits, then they're going to pull the plug on things if they're not making a lot of money. So these businesses that have decided that close to free is a business model are probably going to be in big trouble, because the roosters are coming home to roost. It's you when you're running an operation, there is thank God I have a very conservative CFO. I probably would have done things a little different and we wouldn't exist, but my CFO has been very financially prudent in making sure that we don't spend more than we bring in, and then we have a little bit of a nest egg to fall back on if something goes sideways. So it's not massive, but in case, and I don't know if companies have that much runway. So time will tell.
Yeah, Todd, there's a quote in Pod News in relation to the Spotify CEO, and the kind of enthusiastic investment in the podcasting space might be a nice way of saying it. This quote from it looks like an investment partner,
or an analyst.
it could be an analyst. I'm not quite sure if it's a VC or it's from it's called Light Shelled Partners, and says investors remain skeptical that podcasting is a good business, and that it has meaningfully moved the needle for Spotify.
It has not.
Can you help them understand why you believe in the investment to date, especially in the context of your recent management changes? So there's been a big shuffle of staff at Spotify as well.
If you are solely in the business to make profit from advertising, if that's your number one revenue stream, where it's 90 to 95% of your business model, and you are creating content and trying to create hits,
right,
you're screwed.
Well, Todd, I think you have to back up and you have to look at this from a historical perspective. We've seen this before. I mean, this kind of
CPMs
hesitation.
and we've seen it before. But
Exactly.
still, if you're a one-trick pony.
Yeah, but in the past, let's be frank about it, there has never been a Spotify
Oh, it's
in
true.
the past.
That's true.
So they're definitely a unicorn in the 18, 19 years of this medium, where they just kind of went crazy with investment in this medium, when there really isn't any I don't think any rational reason for them to have gone to such an extreme. I mean, if you look at, if you're really knowledgeable about the history and the progression of this medium, you would remain rather modest, not overly enthusiastic.
I sent an email to some Spotify people when they were still talking,
right,
to us underlings, and it was right after the Anchor Purpose, and I said, who in the beep advised you on this purchase that was, I said, you guys got took to the cleaners. And
well, they obviously don't understand the history of this medium, is that it's not a commercial medium.
well, it was
They're trying to force the issue on a medium that really doesn't want to be that commercial. So I think we've really forced it.
I had
the industry.
I had a conversation with someone I really respect. Is relatively new in the space. I'll be careful here because I'll reveal it, and I'll say they were having some of the same challenges that I had with podcasters years and years and years ago, where an ad deal comes in, there is negotiation, you put a package together, the media buyer then tries to cherry pick shows, or when they get ready to execute on a campaign and the podcaster says, oh, I'm going on vacation for the next 4 weeks, or they do a bad host read, or a whole various of factors. That individual says, I'm going to have to turn into what I had to turn into with doing ad deals with content creators. I had to turn into a hammer. I had to come in and be not a nice person to individuals that were running ad deals and weren't executing them correctly or missing episodes, and say, listen, you are under contract, but I understand that you want to go on vacation, but you owe me 4 episodes in February. And if you don't deliver them, I'm going to take you off the ad deal. I'm going to find another show to replace you with, and you're not getting another ad deal. That I experienced for many, many years. That individual is having the same challenges today with ad deals that they're running with a group of content creators that they're doing. Nothing has changed. There is 50% of podcasters don't care about making money.
Right.
35% think they want to make money. 15% want to and will execute with vigor. The other 35%, when you get them on ad deals, you have to hold their hand, smack their hand, threaten them, and be mean. And I got sick of it.
And we were seeing in the research coming out of Edison that there was the beginnings of pushback from the audience because of over commercialization too.
But not necessarily. But that was, again, these are talking about shows that are new to advertising, that are running new host endorsed ads, that are just not following instructions, not doing what they're supposed to do. And if you're doing that day in and day out and having to run people down, that is bad for your psychic. That just sucks. That's why I have no more hair. Sucks the life out of you. And you're dealing with media buyers that are complaining and wanting make goods and all this other stuff. It sucks your soul to death.
Right.
So this is why I go back to what we're doing now. We have listeners engaging with the content right now, contributing to the show, sending us sats by the minute as they're listening to the show. They're sending donations this way. Right there. There's another one. 22,222. Does Rob maybe have sample rate mismatch? Oh, I don't know about that. I don't.
Sample.
It's all being recorded. It's all
Todd?
being recorded master here. So I don't know, Rob, what's going on. I'm going to have to go back and listen. So maybe it's
sounds
just
fine on my end
maybe
here.
it's your internal hertz rate needs to be increased.
My hertz rate? I don't even think that's an adjustment.
That's
when I
your
look at
internal
it.
clock, Rob. I'm telling you,
My internal clock.
Yeah, you need a Red Bull.
Speaking too slowly now. Huh?
I don't know.
Gotta speed it up.
But going back to this, when someone comes to me now with a host endorsed ad read deals and we want a bunch of podcasters, I just go, it's just like it sucked and I'll be honest with you, I've raised the amount of money. And so how much are you willing to spend? And here's the number. I've set a number. It makes it worth my continued hair loss to be able to do a host read. And if they don't have that budget, I'm like, go talk to podcasters individually. It's not worth my time, not worth my heartache, not worth the badgering content creators, battling over who's going to be on an ad buy. When we're ready to do host endorse ad deals, I will hire 2 or 3 people and I'll say, go do that. That's your job. Don't ever talk to me about it ever again. Make the deals and make them happen. And it's so funny because this individual, I said, you're telling me everything I've heard. I've heard this same heartache and angst and challenges come this. I said, if 8 years ago, I could have said exactly the same thing you're telling me to you. And I just shook my head. I'm like, yep, I understand. I understand completely. I understand your challenge. I understand your heartache. I understand your headache. And that's why now, today, I do 2 different splits on ad deals. I have those that will execute and don't need to be handheld on a 30% commission, and those that don't, 50, because I'm going to have an extra 20% of time spent dealing with them. Adam says, YouTube sound is good, so that means it's the audio stream only and likely not on Rob's end. Oh, that's curious. The output is coming from the mixer into the tape out. I'll have to, oh, here we go. Yeah, this is what we want. Adam, I'm going to play something here.
Was that Adam Curry?
Yeah, no, hang on. Here we go.
Yeah.
Baller, shot caller, 20-inch blades on the Impala.
There we go. There's the big baller.
Wow.
So, no, it came across a little loud. Let's turn it down a little bit, and we'll do it again.
Baller, shot caller, 20-inch blades on the Impala.
So, yeah, Adam said that the YouTube sounds good. It's just the audio stream that's off. So I will investigate the audio stream.
So the audio stream is the one that's going into the lit tag, right?
Right. And it's going out a Shoutcast server. So maybe there is something there. Maybe I have something screwed up on the settings. Maybe I have if I sound good, though, you should sound good because it's going through the same chain and coming out of a tape out going into the laptop that's doing the shoutcast, but I will investigate.
Okay.
Rob, we have made it to the end.
We did.
We did, and I have to just say,
Plenty to talk about. There's still more.
There's still more, but did we touch a nerve with anybody today that's listening not on demand or listening on demand later?
I think we could have multiple areas. But that's the job of the show. This is what we do.
And I didn't feel like I had to wear a bulletproof vest at Podfest, so I felt pretty safe.
Yeah.
But I know if you're doing media buys, I know I've touched a nerve with you the last 5 minutes. This is much more easy. It's much more fun to get 10,001 sats and get the big baller donation audio file. So,
well, Todd, I've wondered for the last couple of years is traditional type advertising going away?
It's still supporting my tech show, thank God.
I know, I get it, but I just wonder if there isn't a better model.
I think for
it's on the horizon.
Rob, have you been listening?
I know, totally.
Better model is right here.
Todd. No, that's the point I'm trying to make, is that maybe this relationship model around, a shared revenue stream.
Ding, 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 ding.
It's really annoying, Todd. So these sats get shared with the listening platform too.
It gets so
a small percentage.
So
goes
Blueberry
to the
Blueberry is taking 3% for anyone that uses it on Blueberry as a fee.
Right.
I personally have set up a 1% split to Podcast Index, so that Podcast Index, now Fountain, they have a fee as well. So this all goes to the ecosystem. That's the key here. This is where the participants help Fountain and Castamatic and Podverse be able to get a modicum. They have a fiat. Basically, you can sign up for $5 a month, and I give them regular dollars every month, but also when people send money through Fountain or any of these apps, they get a percentage of this piece too. So PowerPress has been free for years, and we're implementing this for people that do not host with Blueberry, that make absolutely no money. They've never had to pay a penny for anything we've done with the plugin, and the plugin costs me a lot of dev hours every year. And of course, we have this primarily for our hosting customers, but this is the first time we're ever going to potentially earn a little bit of money for their utilization of the plugin to implement value for value. And we made a mistake when we released it. We didn't state that in the information. So now we've got it. Matter of fact, I need to double check the release today, make sure that messaging clearly went in there that we're doing a 3% fee to use that. So maybe I'll change that later. Maybe I'll lower it to 1%. I don't know. We're going to have to see where it falls out. Maybe I got too greedy. And but what I'd really like to do, if it was a Blueberry customer, reduce it to 1%. If they're not a Blueberry customer, raise it to 3%. But I don't have a way to switch the value right now based upon their status in the app. So maybe
it's
in the
probably
future.
not a model that's going to replace some form of advertising.
It could for small shows. It could,
but for small shows, definitely,
absolutely. I think it'll
do
do
better.
better.
Shows, is this something that's going to work at scale? Is an interesting question.
Big shows,
it could do that.
I think it will do very, 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 very well. I think big shows, if they adopt this, but here's the kicker: value for value. Did we provide you value today by listening to this podcast? If we provided value today and this was educational and you got something out of this and you were educated and it was worth something to you, then send us value back. And it might have been 2 minutes of our conversation today that was something that gave the listener a value. If we gave you value, made you go, huh, then throw us 10,000 sats or 100,000, whatever the value is, or $1,000. What that's the value is when, and again, Adam and Dave and everyone's listening right now, go listen to No Agenda. Go listen to the No Agenda podcast. That's podcast in the universe. They
2.0 podcast.
And listen to podcast, but listen to what Dave and John C. DeVore have done on No Agenda. And when you listen for 5 episodes, just go listen for 5 episodes. That's 15 hours. It'll be the best 15-hour investment you will ever make in your show to understand this value for value model. Because they do it better. They invented it. So what we're replicating here is we're giving every content creator the ability to do what Dave and John has done. They get fiat funds now, and they also get Satoshis, and they can convert
to fractional Bitcoin,
and they can cash those Satoshis out daily, weekly, and Adam's got more stuff coming on that. So I'm preaching to the choir here. All of you that are listening, you guys should be like clamoring for this. If you're not clamoring for this, then tell me to shut up. But I'm not going to shut up. We have 15,000 plus podcasters that listen to this show. You're hosted all over the place. We've got 15,000 podcasters that listen to the show that also work at different companies, that listen and don't tell us they ever listen, except when we're together and you say something. I go, oh, you listen to the show, but you've never emailed the show? Mm-hmm. If I'm excited about this, I've been in this space a long time. I may have more fun now than I've ever had. And it's not just value for value. It's credits, it's location, it's lock, it's transcripts, it's all this stuff.
What's the lit tag? Trying to push that. So that lit tag will work with live YouTube streams too, right?
We need to, now that we've got this embedded into Blueberry, into PowerPress, now I can set up a separate channel and experiment. I'll actually use the video channel of Geek News Central to play with the live video piece to see if we can get that to work. I think what it is, you have to provide an endpoint. I can do that through Wowza. I can provide an endpoint, which should work. So probably on the next new media show, we will, because I've got 2 channels here on this one too, so I can set up a second channel, one being video, one being audio. And we'll experiment with this to get video working. It's got a ways to go.
I need to send you my login credentials for the creators suite for LinkedIn, don't I? I mean, is that something that we can add?
We can.
Okay, so we can
actually, we can just do a screen share at some point. All I need is the RTMP endpoint to send to. You don't have to give me a login, I don't think, long as it can kick it automatically. But anyway, we can add LinkedIn. So
I think it'd be great to add that platform because that is definitely the appropriate platform for this show.
So I haven't switched my LinkedIn profile to creator. I've been hesitant because I don't know what it does.
It didn't really change much for me. It just gave me more choices on things that I could do.
So I don't know if I read this or not. 2222 Sats Row of Ducks. Lit is an exciting new format of live audio and instant feedback with boostgrams. You are leading the revolution. Podcasting was an evolution. This is a revolution.
Oh, really?
Right.
Wow. That's a rare event in the podcasting space to have a revolution. That happened when Adam Curry was launching this, but
I called it an evolution. I never used the word revolution because I might end up on the no-fly list somewhere.
Right.
So
you have to be careful of that, right?
Use the word revolution, you could all of a sudden you're like check into a Mr. Cochran. If we step aside, please.
That's right. Mr. Cochran, can you put your hands behind your back?
That's right. Yes. Yeah. We can need to question you over here and give you a TSA probing of some sort or another. All right. So anyway, Todd at blueberry.com, at Geek News on Twitter. Thank you, everyone, for the fun lit and live today. We've been exciting. I will be on Podcasting 2.0 with Mike Dell this coming Friday. So if you guys want to, hear more about this, subscribe to the Podcasting 2.0 show. And I don't know. We're going to get interrogated by Adam and Dave and what we've been doing. So we want you to come over there and boost back when we're live. So get a new podcast app at newpodcastapps.com and come listen live on Friday.
Right.
All right, Rob?
I can be found on Twitter at Rob Greenlee, and you can send me an email, robg@podbean.com. I do have a website, robgreenlee.com as well, but I'm on all the other social apps too. So if you need to get a hold of me, that actually works. So
And I have to do a little fun here at the end. Someone at Libsyn told me to slow the beep down on our dev. Nah, 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 nah.
who was that?
So no, we're not going to slow down.
They're making them look bad, right? Is that what you're saying?
No, I just, it was a little fun conversation with somebody, but no,
Yes.
we're not
Imagine
slow.
maybe who that was.
We're not slowing down. Afterburners. All right.
Yeah, I can imagine who that might have said that.
All right.
Yeah.
Everybody, see you later. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.